Hi everyone, so I'm just going to be showing you around this special resource that I have created for students in this course. This is called a LibGuide, sometimes called a research guide or a library guide. And some of these questions are going to come up in some of the quizzes for these information literacy presentations. So I want to make sure that you've seen this guide and you know how to get to it. So I will put this URL in your information literacy presentation 1 page on Canvas, but the link is uncg.libguides.com/PSC391. So you can see here, you have me, there I am. You can chat with the library. So I'm just going to say, hi, it's Rachel showing students how to use chat. This goes to a real life person who works for the library. Note that even though it's my face that you're seeing there, it's not necessarily me that you're speaking with, but it is a real person. And they're really quick to respond usually, and more than glad to help you with any questions that you might have. You have my email address already, but you could use this button. You could also schedule an appointment here. You can see when I'm available. There are a couple different tabs here. So the first one I want to show you is APSA citations. So for this course, you are using the American Political Science Association style. There's going to be a question later that's going to ask you what APSA stands for. So again, it's American Political Science Association. You can see it right here. Okay. The whole manual for these citations is actually linked straight here on your guide. So if you needed to look up how to cite something specific, you could do that. You can also click this link that says Quick Guide to APSA Citations, and it'll take you to a different page. I'll make sure that that opens in a different tab so that you stay on the library guide for this course. But anyway, let's say you needed to quickly look up, how do I cite a journal article? Here's an example of how you would do that using APSA style. One quick note is that APSA stands for American Political Science Association. Sometimes the citation style is called APSR. You'll sometimes see those terms used interchangeably. APSR is American Political Science Review. So they're the same thing. Don't let that confuse you or trip you up. Okay. So going back to your guide, I want to show you this Finding Sources tab because there's a couple things on here that are going to come up. I've got lots of different sources here for you. At one point in this module, you were asked to use Academic Search Complete to find some articles. So that's where you can find it on your guide. There's also these country profile resources that I want to show you. So we have a couple that I want to highlight. Freedom House. Freedom House creates these country, like global freedom scores. So for instance, I can look at the one for Albania, okay? And it's going to tell me, it'll talk about political rights and civil liberties. And you can see it scores a 68 out of 100. So if you wanted more information about that, you could read, they have really great information about every country in here. It'll give you overviews of how they do things like elections, political participation, how the government works in these countries, freedom of expression, things like that. There's some really excellent information here. You can also use this freedom map if that's of interest to you. And I really like a couple features on here. So you can see their overall freedom status. So for instance, let's look at Australia. Australia is a 95 out of 100, which according to their scale means it is a free country. You could also click on this internet freedom score, and you can see you could look at countries where access to internet or things that people can view on the internet is potentially restricted more than others. So again, the green is going to be more free. You can see the United States is a 76. The yellow is sort of in the middle. So Brazil has like a 64, you can see there. Purple is definitely on the less free side. So Russia, for instance, Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia. There are a lot of countries in gray or black here because they don't have data available. But the ones where they do have data available, it's quite interesting. You can learn more about it. If you click on it, you can see things like obstacles to access, limits on content, user rights. You could view reports related to internet freedom specifically. This is an important issue that I think is affecting more and more people around the world. So I wanted to be sure to point that out to you. So that is Freedom House. There are many more things you could explore on those websites, but those are some of my favorite features. I'm just going to go back to your guide. Another thing I want to show you are these global human development indicators. Okay, so this is published by the United Nations, and you can look at different countries. So for instance, if I click on the Bahamas, it'll take a minute. It'll tell me about the Human Development Index score that this country has. And Human Development Index has to do with things like lifespan, educational access, standards of living, things like that. And there, you can see that the Bahamas ranks pretty high here. You can see their score is there. You're going to be asked to find a score for a specific country, so I wanted to be sure to point that out to you. They have lots of really good data on these different countries. On this website, there's a gender development index that you could take a look at, inequality, gender norms, poverty indexes. This data might potentially be interesting to you. Some of it is a little bit hard to see, but you can zoom in and kind of focus in a little bit more on that. So I definitely like these human development reports. I do have World Bank links, the International Monetary Fund. These websites are always worth looking at. They have some really interesting data. Again, if you were interested in a specific country, you could look that up. So again, let's look at Algeria. And I could find country information specifically related to Algeria. Again, very helpful if you're doing anything research on a specific country. I really like these. I think they're really visually nice. They've got some good at-a-glance data. So I highly recommend that you take advantage of those resources. The things that are on this guide under the Finding Sources tab are just suggestions for things that you could use. They are definitely not the only things that we have available. I would encourage you to search the catalog, search through Academic Search Complete, as you may have already done or seen how to do. So I would highly recommend taking a look. We have plenty more than just these 3 databases. We have hundreds of databases at UNCG. I just wanted to show you the ones or highlight the ones here that I think are most helpful for students in this particular course. Tutorials. A couple of these you have probably already encountered, like this tutorial using the library catalog. But if you wanted more information on like how to find an article when all you have is the citation, because that sometimes will happen in your course syllabus, you'll just get the citation and you're like, well, how do I look it up? This video can explain that. I've also got some basic research tips here that go a little bit more in depth on things that we haven't covered. So I'd encourage you to check that out. And then later in the semester, I believe you'll be writing a literature review. We're going to come back to this and look at these resources more in depth soon.